News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. Court documents for the alleged murder of a Utah woman in Alaska indicate that her husband went to great lengths to hide her death from law enforcement. 21-year-old Soraya Barney Hildebrand was from Utah and was living with her husband in Anchorage. She was found dead Thursday night after a multi-day search, and police provided a timeline of events that led to her husband's arrest in an arrest document. Zarias Ray Hildebrand, also age 21, was charged with murder and tampering with evidence. He was an active duty member of the military, and Soraya served as a combat medic in the Alaska Army National Guard. According to the police report, Zarias reported Soraya missing on Monday, August 7th. He claimed his wife walked to work at a local sandwich shop on Sunday morning, the previous Sunday morning, but when he went to pick her up that evening, he learned that she never made it to work. He said he spent the rest of the night and following morning searching for her by calling friends, family, jails, and hospitals. Last Tuesday, Zarias gave officers permission to enter their home to make sure she was nowhere inside. Officers noticed a bed with no sheets on it, but only a mattress pad, along with a set of brand new sheets on the table. Zarias then lifted part of the mattress pad up to show that there was a fitted sheet on the mattress. However, he would not let them fully lift up the pad or sheets or look under the bed. Police obtained receipts showing that Zarias purchased a set of sheets, a mattress cover, hydrogen peroxide, an empty spray bottle, and marinara sauce on Sunday night. They also learned that Zarias purchased a 96-gallon garbage can from a hardware store. On Wednesday, police obtained a search warrant and searched the couple's home. They discovered that the mattress was saturated with blood, so much so that there was blood on the bed frame and on the floor below. They also used a blood reagent spray in other areas of the home and found remnants of blood, which they said would normally be invisible to the naked eye without the spray, and it was all over the bathtub and some on the floor. After an extensive search, a police-owned drone spotted a pillow and something light-colored inside a storm drain just off a trail near the Hildebrand's home on Thursday evening. They ultimately discovered Soraya's body and said she appeared to have a gunshot wound to her left temple. KBNU News Time is 4:05. KBNU weather tonight, partly cloudy skies, overnight low in the low 60s. Sunny, hot again tomorrow, mid-90s on Thursday. It's been to 92. It's 90 degrees right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch, one of the most beautiful places to build a home in Cache Valley with national forest, hiking trails, and streams right out your backyard. Go to maplecreek.net for more information.
U&I Furniture has always been here to give you great value for your money. When it comes to home furnishings, it really is always a better buy at U&I. And right now, U&I is closing out last year's model mattresses. Closeouts on new models and displays too. Memory foam, innerspring, and hybrids from a number of different name brand manufacturers. And ask U&I to show you this popular copper-infused mattress that sleeps cooler. And did you know U&I has a good selection of sheets and mattress protectors too? U&I Furniture, over 90 years in downtown Logan. There's always a better buy at U&I.
KBNU News Time is 4:07. An Arizona man has been arrested in connection with a recent kidnapping investigation in Park City involving a 14-year-old girl. 32-year-old Mark Devine was booked into the Summit County Jail on August 11th on one second-degree felony of kidnapping. According to authorities, the victim had initially told her mother that she would be spending the night at a friend's residence. However, she failed to arrive as planned. In the early hours of August 11th, an SOS message was sent to her mother indicating the need for help and activating the location feature on her mobile phone. Court documents state that Summit County Emergency Dispatch received the coordinates from the victim, who communicated that she was being held against her will. Following a safety safety sweep at the Powderwood Apartments in Park City. Deputies located the victim, who was allegedly shoved in a closet, according to the affidavit. A probable cause statement says that after being picked up by Devine from Layton on August 10th, the victim didn't remember much after a McDonald's run, but the next thing she did remember was waking up in an apartment. Upon searching the apartment, deputies discovered drug paraphernalia, suspected marijuana, and McDonald's-related items. Devine's vehicle, located within the complex, also contained items alleged of drug-related activity. And teams that stay in the Williamsport, Pennsylvania complex for the Little League World Series will continue to sleep in single beds in the wake of last year's incident, where a boy seriously injured his head when he fell out of his top bunk. Little League International made the change last year after 12-year-old Easton Oliverson, a pitcher and outfielder for the Snow Canyon team out of Santa Clara, Utah, was injured in August. Out of an abundance of caution, they placed all the beds individually on the floor during last year's World Series and in preparation for the 2023 Little League International Tournament. This year's tournament starts this week and runs from August 16th through the 27th. The Oliverson family had kept Easton's condition continuously updated on social media with photos of the boy in a wheelchair and wearing baseball T-shirts, also posing for pictures with his family and friends until the end of 2022. The family later sued the league and the company that made the bed. The negligence lawsuit filed by Jace and Nancy Oliverson last September in Philadelphia said there was no railing on the top bunk. Little League did not comment on the lawsuit. A message left Monday for the Oliversons' lawyer was not immediately returned. KVNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Help us recognize the champions in our communities. Submit your nominations by visiting KVNUTalk.com. The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs.
What if you could come home every day to a peaceful retreat nestled in the mountains? A place that's only minutes from downtown Logan, but offers access to national forests from your own backyard, surrounded by mountains, horse riding, hiking trails, babbling brooks, and more. All this at Maple Creek Ranch, which is now in its fourth and final phase of development. 2.5-acre lots, your own piece of paradise that's remote yet accessible. And road improvements will be completed this summer. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Go to maplecreekranch.net. Maple Creek Ranch, just east of Franklin, Idaho.
How many years has it been since you were married? 1 year? 10 years? Longer? This is Jarek from Jarek's Fine Jewelry. No matter how many years it's been, you always remember just how you felt. Show her you love her all over again with something special from Jarek's. We can help you surprise her or bring her in and you can pick it out together. Maybe it's restyling the old ring or upgrading to a larger diamond that she just may have hinted about. No matter how many years it's been, let us help make it special on your anniversary.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 a.m. and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Man, do we have a lot coming up on the show today. We'll check in with Cache County School District. Some news on that front. A proposed bond with the state approving full-day full-day kindergarten in Cache County School District. That has been welcomed by parents, by the way. Very excited about that from what I've heard. That does mean that we are faced with something we knew was coming, which is we need more schools again. We'll talk about that in detail with Gary Thomas, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education at the Cache County School District. A spotlight on a local artist, courtesy of our resident man on the street, Craig Hislop, coming up later on as well. But to start things off here, first part of this hour, our good friend Shelley Giddings here in the studio. Shelley, former Cache County GOP chair, longtime political activist, organizer, campaign worker, volunteer. It's always volunteer, right?
Yes.
No
always.
one pays in Utah to work campaigns.
Nope.
Shelley joins us once a month, and we just talk about the headlines, things that are in the news. It has been, we can talk about it if you want, but Shelley, this is something that frustrates me about the news lately, in that there are certain topics that just dominate. Cable news is the worst. They're like the dog on the Pixar movie Squirrel, Squirrel. And every time there is a Trump-related headline, 24 hours of just loops of nothing but. But it made me realize that one thing we're lucky about here in Utah, we have a far more healthy news landscape in Utah. There's a lot of great stuff out there, and a lot gets missed, of course. Still, that's always going to be the case. But I was thinking about this with your experiences as the chair. So I remember when social media first launched, and everyone was like, oh, this is so great because the gatekeepers are gone. So now candidates and campaigns and parties can control their own message and get what they want. Is that true?
No.
Did it? Because it doesn't seem to be. It seems like the gatekeepers are still in place, just different titles.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I think it's made people more emboldened as well.
Yeah.
They will maybe grab on to one of these, topics and just run with it and not do their research, not find out what the truth is.
Sure.
I just saw something on Facebook today, and the comment was, well, you got some plums from the lieutenant governor, so you are not a conservative. I was like, really? And
that's funny.
I was flabbergasted at the comments, and they just started going after the lieutenant governor. And somebody came in and said, okay, what are you talking about? She has consistently voted for conservative policies and things, and because you disagree with her on one thing doesn't make her a rhino.
Yeah.
And that's where we go, right? One thing we disagree.
We oversimplify things.
Yes. And we don't look at a track record. We just think, oh, she believes this, so she's not conservative. That's what happened to me. Yeah.
And it happens on the left, too.
It does.
It's in Democratic Party circles here in Utah. You see the same thing where, someone's a traitor because they were over here on. There was a long-time political activist and donor. She had a lot of money, and she funded a lot of successful campaigns in the Salt Lake area for Democrats. But her family was tied to a private prison company, and man, I know the word witch hunt gets overused, but that was a witch hunt. So it's not specific to the right. It happens on the left as well. It's a human thing. But man, does it dumb things down. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely. I have a daughter who attends American University, and she's a political science major. She interned for Senator Lee for, actually the summer and the fall because it was COVID year, and they needed her, so she stayed.
So they held on to her.
But she talks about this. This girl does her research, and I will just make a comment, and she'll just look at me, and she'll be like, because she's home for this week, actually, and she'll look at me, and she'll go, Mom, really? And then she pulls out all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, really, you got Mom? Me. Yes. But we don't get a lot of that from the younger generation either, do we? That they're really researching and wanting to figure out what's going on politically. And like you said, so things are just dumbed down.
Yeah. To me, that gets frustrating because, I was telling you before the show, I have good friends with the inside the Sutherland Institute, people I've known for years, very conservative people, and they have worked with the folks at, for example, a great example. Did you know years ago, to our listeners, I know Shelley probably knows this, but years ago, the Sutherland Institute and the very left-leaning ACLU teamed up here in Utah and worked together on legislation. There was a transparency organization out of Washington, D.C. that was also very left-leaning that worked with the Libertarian Libertas Institute on a couple of things. These things used to happen on the regular. And now, I spoke with my friends at the Sutherland Institute, and they told me that, they're not opposed to this, working with, left-leaning groups if they align on an issue and things like that. But what they said was it's no longer beneficial. We're not opposed to it, but it's no longer beneficial for us to do it from just a organizational standpoint because we won't succeed. Because we will be undermined by people coming out and calling their lawmakers and saying, well, did you know they're working with a left-leaning group on this? And so in the end, the result, I was told, is the thing doesn't happen. And the thing was probably a good idea. Yeah. That's unfortunate that we've gotten this way in the country. And I'm not interested in really trying to figure out how. So much as, everybody's got their theory. It's social media. It's, the continued polarization of politics, obviously a part of it. What I'm more concerned about is how can we correct it? For a long time, I thought it was candidates. I thought, if the candidates correct it, it'll reset. And I watch candidates try and try and try. And I watch them get beat up and get beat up and get beat up, usually women. And now I don't know if maybe we just have to run this course to the end and then it resets. But
maybe, I don't know what it is either, but it does need to reset because we need to be able to sit down with people who we do not agree with 100%. Who do you agree with 100%? Sure. But we've gotten to this point where if there is a legislator who maybe has one vote that you don't like, well, you're going to work your hardest to remove them from office.
Yeah.
Well, that's just kind of silly. I think about Dan Johnson. I love Dan Johnson. He doesn't always vote the way that I want him to. Sure. But I know why he votes the way he does because we have conversations about it. I will ask him, Representative Johnson, why did you vote this way? And he tells me, and I understand it. We don't seek to understand anymore, do we?
That's a good way to put it.
What is that saying? Seek first to understand before being understood? Yeah. Something like that. We don't do that anymore.
No. And it's unfortunate because I know a lot of folks on the right and the left, and I can understand how they came to their conclusions, to their opinions, and I can respect it. Whether I agree or not is secondary at a certain point. But I realize the reason I can do this with lawmakers specifically is that I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of them. And obviously not everyone in Utah can meet every member of the legislature, but I do really wish people would go out when the candidates have events or when they invite people to be a part of something or to weigh in on something. I wish people would get to know. I'm not saying it will convince you to agree with them. But it will remind you that they're human, which makes it harder to see, them as evil.
Yes, right? Yeah, I think when you sit behind your computer screen and you're, typing out these negative, horrible things about people that aren't true, you have dehumanized the person you're talking about, right? But like you said, when you're in the same room with them and you're talking to them, having conversations, you do realize that they're human. They are people. They have opinions. They have experiences. Yeah. Right? We're all a sum of our experiences, right? Yeah. And so we need to be empathetic to that and stop telling somebody that because they got plums from the lieutenant governor, they are not a conservative.
I still think I cannot believe someone is that petty. I mean, right? I can, but
but it's like he got some plums, he made some jam, he posted about it, and all of a sudden these people are just jumping on him. And there was a very smart comment made about looking at track records and looking at votes and looking at those things. Perhaps you don't understand what a conservative is if you don't believe that these two people are conservative.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, authentic conservatives, and by authentic I mean the people who are interested in actual, advancing conservative ideas, not just getting the most clicks and retweets on social media, which has become, unfortunately, synonymous with conservatives. And the same thing has happened on the progressive side, too. Right. Unfortunately, it's across the board. But I think authentic, conservatism, authentic progressivism, you can recognize that there are places where people do come together, where there's opportunity to get something done collectively, and from a policy perspective. What I would say for authentic conservatives, you got nothing to complain about. Well, maybe that Casey Snyder guy. He likes his trees, and that's always made me a little suspicious.
Tree hugger?
No, I think for authentic conservatives, I really think you cannot be unhappy with Cache Valley lawmakers.
I agree.
What do you think? Join us, Shelley Giddings and I, having a discussion about our current polarized politics and what might fix it, or at least diffuse it a bit. 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Hello, this is Deputy Solano with the Cache County Sheriff's Office inviting you to this year's truck pull for Special Olympics Utah. This year's event will be held August 19th from 9 a.m. to 11 at the Cache County Fairgrounds. We're looking for teams of 10 individuals to compete in pulling a fire truck 20 yards. Cost to register is $200 per team. To sign up or get more information, look for the Cache County Sheriff's Office's Facebook page. There will be lots of fun prizes and giveaways, including concert tickets to Cherry Peak, a $500 gift card to Costco, cool merchandise from Camp Chef, and much more. Again, come out to the truck pull August 19th from 9 to 11 at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Shelley Giddings, our guest here in the studio. Shelley joins me once a month to just discuss the headlines, talk about politics in Utah. She has a lot of experience there as a campaign volunteer, activist, and longtime chair of the Cache County Republican Party. Shelley's now moved on to other things, and one of those is joining us here. And Shelley, I really appreciate this conversation because I know you're coming at this from as a conservative Republican in a conservative Republican state. You could assume everything is just roses for you. and your policy preferences and your candidate likes and dislikes and all of that, elected official fan or not fan, all of that. But this kind of highlights the fact that even in a state dominated by conservative Republicans, in electoral office at least, it does still get messy. And there are still variations of those conservative Republicans. There's a Phil Lyman, which is about as far right as you can get, I think, in Utah. And then there's a moderate Dan Johnson. But But that still is the conservative Republican realm, right? And in fact, I happen to know this. Phil and Dan actually agree on a lot of things and are kind of friends. But that's what's so cool about the legislature is you go down there and see. I always tell people this. During the 45-day session, it's not like there are two parties. Partly because there's like 5 Democrats, right. But even if there were more, it's more. The battle is more House versus Senate. That's where the fights usually break out. And the reason for that, I think, is because all of them go down there and realize their job, what they've been elected, what they've been hired, quote unquote, to do, is tackle the challenges and problems of the state and come up with solutions. And so the party affiliation at that point is less on their minds, but they're still coming at it from their perspectives.
Well, I don't believe that we have legislators who want to do ill, right? They all have...
Yeah, that I would agree.
They want to do what's best for the state of Utah and what's best for their constituents. But they have maybe different ways of approaching those things.
Yeah.
I think if we look at the legislators in that light, thinking, okay, they're doing their best to do what's right, then we come at it from that perspective and maybe give them a little more grace when they don't do things the way we think they should.
Yeah. Which is bound to happen, right?
Absolutely. But I think that's where really having a conversation, our legislators are accessible. Sorry. Wow.
They're also accessible. every 2 years in the House, right? They get assessed by voters.
But it's easy to contact them and to have a conversation and to find out why they did what they did. So do it and don't dehumanize them and get to know them and why they do the things that they do and be kind.
Yeah. And ask questions. That's the thing that always blows me away. If you disagree with something a lawmaker did, because you mentioned them being accessible, this is something you can still do in Utah. Believe it or not. It doesn't happen everywhere else, not even in Idaho anymore.
No.
But call them or send them an email and say, why did you vote this way? They'll tell you.
Yeah.
And that conversation will be illuminating. You might still think they're wrong. I have before. But you'll see why they came to the conclusion they did. And sometimes you also open up the door to offer to maybe educate them a little bit.
Yes.
That's happened before, too. So,
Yes.
Most of all, as Shelley said, remember, no one in the legislature, I would agree with this 100%, no one is there to do ill. You might disagree with their tactics, but everyone is there to make Utah a better place. Shelley, appreciate you joining us. And
thank you, Jason.
For listeners, Shelley will be back with us again next month. Stay tuned. On the other side, Mr. Craig Hislop joins us, and we'll step into the art world right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:30, and the news is brought to you by Logan Extermination. Federal officials said today they will ease water cuts for western states reliant on the Colorado River next year. Bountiful snowfall and rain last winter pulled much of the region out of the drought this spring and raised water levels at key reservoirs. Much less water flows through the river today than in decades past, thanks to overuse and drought worsened by climate change. The river provides water for 7 U.S. states, Native American tribes, and 2 states in Mexico. The federal government has been imposing cuts since 2021. The cuts will be slightly less than last year after a wet winter eased some stress on key reservoirs. The Utah man accused of making violent threats against President Biden before a western state's trip last week pointed a handgun at FBI agents attempting to arrest him, the agency said on Monday. Craig Robertson, a 75-year-old Air Force veteran, was killed during a raid on his home in Provo last Wednesday, hours before Biden arrived in Salt Lake City. The FBI said in a statement that Robertson had resisted arrest and pointed a .357 revolver at agents who had come to his home to arrest him. The FBI did not respond to questions about whether Robertson shot. at agents. And teams that stay in the Williamsport, Pennsylvania complex for the Little League World Series will continue to sleep in single beds in the wake of last year's incident where a boy seriously injured his head when he fell out of his top bunk. Little League International made the change last year after 12-year-old Easton Oliverson, a pitcher and outfielder for the Snow Canyon team out of Santa Clara, Utah, was injured in August. Little League decided to provide its participants with single one-level beds for all of their player housing at each of its tournament locations. KBNU News Time is 4:32.
It's been a crazy few months with big rainstorms fueling the weeds in your lawn, garden, or empty lot, and the spiders coming inside to beat the heat. You need help. Let Logan Extermination take care of those pesky weeds and unwanted pests with an exterior lawn application and interior treatment for bugs. Call Logan Extermination today before your home becomes enemy territory. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Weed control starts at $45. Interior spider spray starts at $95.
A team of highly trained forensic experts is on the ground in Maui helping to identify wildfire victims. Jonathan Green with the Department of Health and Human Services.
Fingerprinting, DNA, X-ray, a whole host, and they are quite familiar with the process of supporting identification of fatality remains from incidents like this.
At least 99 people are confirmed dead. A challenger in the 2024 race for the Republican presidential nomination with a message to former President Trump. It's time to pack it in.
As a result of his actions, he's morally responsible. Now we'll see if he's criminally responsible. That's a question for the law and for the jury.
Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson at the Iowa State Fair. North Korea has confirmed that it's holding Army Private Travis King. Pyongyang says the U.S. soldier bolted across the DMZ last month because he was disillusioned about the U.S. military. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
KBNU weather tonight, partly cloudy skies, overnight low in the low 60s. Another hot one tomorrow, sunny mid-90s on Wednesday. Looking at mid-90s on Thursday, and then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms overnight, Thursday night, Friday morning. And that begins to usher in cooler, wetter weather for the weekend. It's been to 92. It's 91 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by U&I Furniture, closing out last year's model mattresses. Lots of choices, memory foam, innerspring, and hybrid models from a number of name brand manufacturers. Always a better buy at U&I. Downtown Logan, 28 West, 1st North. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Branch Office Administrator Bobby Bedrero bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Clayton McMurdy and Edward Jones. Stocks closed lower on Tuesday as sentiment is being sapped by disappointing economic activity in China and news that Fitch is evaluating potential credit downgrades on U.S. banks. This overshadowed an otherwise positive U.S. retail sales report, with equities adding to their modest August dip. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury yield ticked higher again, moving above 4.2%, a new high for 2023 and just below the peak seen last October. Additionally, oil prices declined by over 1.5% amid concerns over Chinese economic growth. After the stock market steady rally from March through July, it's not surprising to see some anxiousness return as economic data failed to leap further over the bar of expectations. That said, we don't think there is a dramatic change afoot in the fundamental backdrop. Bouts of volatility are normal and can present compelling buying opportunities for long-term investors. The Nasdaq closed down 157 points. The S&P 500 closed down 52 points, and in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.22% higher by 0.03 percentage points. The price of crude oil was down $1.56, and the spot price of gold was down $9.60. This has been today's financial market report brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Clayton McMurdy, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1309 North Main in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our branch at 435-753-0537.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
A lot of our patients end up having autoimmune conditions. This is where their immune system, rather than attacking bacteria, a virus, or other bad things, it starts to attack their own tissue. This can cause so many different issues and symptoms throughout the whole body. The biggest thing for us at Red River is to identify what's causing the autoimmune response to flare up. This could be intestinal problems, blood sugar imbalances, cortisol defects, hormonal imbalances, along with something as simple as dietary triggers and environmental triggers. One of the most common causes, too, when you have an autoimmune condition is you'll have inflammation throughout the whole body. Not every patient will have the same imbalances or the same triggers, and so we have to customize a very personalized treatment plan in order for these patients to feel better.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Stotz Equipment, your Cache Valley John Deere dealer, has the equipment you need to get the job done. Handle heavier duty chores around the farm, property, or job site with John Deere compact utility tractors and compact construction equipment. They have an option for all your jobs with premium features and the right size tractor for your operation. Find out which tractor is right for you. Stotz Equipment is located on 415 West 8th North in Preston, Idaho. Visit the store or check them out online at StotzEquipment.com.
Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor. Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Visit managerbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
One smile is great. But one smile in a community of smiles is so much better. Smile Train celebrates the cleft lip and palate community by empowering medical professionals in over 70 countries to perform essential cleft care in their local communities. Learn how Smile Train is helping the cleft lip and palate community at smiletrain.org/learn. Smile Train, changing the world one smile at a time.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Talk of bonding for new elementary schools, a lot of other things that are new in the Cache County School District and more. That's coming up at the start of Hour 2 of today's show. Assistant Superintendent for Public Education at the Cache County School District, Gary Thomas, will be joining us, so stay tuned for that. We'll also talk about what's new this school year, what parents can expect and more, and why the Cache School District consistently is in the top 10 districts throughout the state of Utah. And that's no small thing. So that's coming up later on in the hour. But right now, I'm excited about this, but the interview you are about to hear by our own Mr. Craig Hislop is from the art world, basically. But this is such a unique thing. This is something that, well, I'll put it this way. This is something that would only really be possible in Cache Valley for a lot of different things, or a lot of different reasons. And one of those is there's a deep bench in the art world. So a local, even, Mr. Zach Woosely, the subject of this pretty exciting news, I think. And some folks may already know this, maybe not, but someone who has done work for Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Tech Nine. These are some big hip-hop artists, and it has a Logan tie-in, believe it or not. With the details, here's Craig.
Well, thank you, Jason. As a youngster growing up in Logan, even as a young as 7 years old, Zach Woolsey's focus in life was to stay busy drawing. And now 40 years later, living in the Boise area, he is an illustrator, a designer. He's a graphic artist with a national profile. He's prominent in the worlds of hip-hop and rap and Marvel Comics and more. And not to drop names, but he continues to do work, including album covers and illustrations and things like that with Snoop Dogg and Shania Twain, Tech Nine, several others. Zach's on the phone from Boise. Zach, at what point did things start happening for your art that you were making a little bit of a living at it?
Well, I definitely think that it was a combination of a lot of things. I definitely worked on, through college, going here to Boise State. I decided to go back to school because I wanted to be able to increase my skill set so that I was more valuable and was able to do a lot more things for a lot, more people. And kind of during that time, I was able to kind of work on networking and basically to kind of taking advantage of any opportunity that would come my way, and that kind of grew, and to have once, I did something for someone, they'd be like, oh, who did that, and who did that for you, and it was this guy, and it kind of grew from a word of mouth, grassroots kind of thing. And, since 2004, and going to art school, I definitely wanted to always kind of be a part of, the entertainment industry, especially rap music or hip hop or whatever it was, because it was just so influential to me, growing up. So,
well, you've reached that then, haven't you?
Well, I feel like I've reached it to a point, but there's always something else after that. I don't ever feel like that I'm always done. It's more of just kind of reaching this milestone and then on to the next to accomplish. So,
tell me about when you were able to help Shania Twain and it led to a meeting with her and all of that.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to get to know some of the people from her Shania Kids Foundation to provide education opportunities for school in Canada, and I kind of reached out to them, got to know some of the directors of that foundation, and was able to do a couple of art pieces that they were going to auction off as a benefit for the school, and it did really well. I got some pictures and stuff of her signing the art pieces, and they had sent me down to meet with her on tour or to go see her on tour. I didn't really expect or know what to do, and went down to Salt Lake with my wife, and we get there. The tour manager came to us, and she was like, oh yeah, we got these tickets for you and stuff, and I'll be right back a little bit to come get you. We'll take you downstairs. And so we were sitting there, and I was kind of looking at the tickets and had noticed that they were right in the front, and I was turning my head, I'm like, these are right in front, right by the microphone, this is crazy. A short while later, the tour manager came back and hey, we have this dinner reception and stuff downstairs. And if you see me, I'm usually just kind of a t-shirt, shorts, hat, sunglasses kind of guy. Wasn't really dressed up for dinner. We just did eat McDonald's before that, and we went downstairs, and they took us back to this big fancy dinner, super nice. Everyone's dressed, and they're looking at us what's going on and stuff. And we kind of ate what we could because we were already kind of full. As we were leaving, the tour manager said, hey, we're not doing VIP or meet and greets or anything like that, but she wants to meet you and tell you thank you, for your work for the foundation. We'll have security come in and get you and escort you out after the opener. And so we're like, okay. And so we went there and sitting in front of all these other people, fancy dress, looking at us why are these guys right in the middle of all of us? And so after the opener came out, and finished, the security came and escorted us out. And I think a lot of the people around us oh, see, yeah, they weren't supposed to be here, and they took us backstage, and got to meet with I think it was her personal assistant and a tour photographer, and we were just kind of visiting. A short while later, Shania Twain came out, and she took pictures. Really sweet lady. It was super fun to meet with her, and she asked, walk with her to the stage. So we kind of walked with her to the stage. She went up on stage. We went back out to our seats, and the people were all kind of looking at us like, oh, they're back. And she came out, and we were right there in front. She kind of like waved at us and stuff, and everybody kind of looked at us. But it was definitely fun. And after the fact, that I had talked to the director of the foundation, and she was like, oh, did you meet Shania's husband? And his name's Fred. And I was like, oh, I don't think I met him. I don't remember or anything like that. And so I started like thinking back on it, and then I was kind of researching a little bit. And he was the photographer that was standing right there that I was talking to for like 20 minutes. I didn't even realize it, that I was sitting there talking to her husband the whole time. And he was just a really super awesome guy, and just a really humble experience. I was really grateful to be able to, be part of that, and hopefully be able to do more with him in the future.
You told me of a time when, now as I understand it, Eminem had called for some artwork, and I think it involved mask art, and it sounded like you had somewhat of an expectation that you might get that one. You didn't, and it kind of put you into a reset in your art. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's true. I had been working for kind of like this mask company doing custom masks. It was called Cuzzalo Inc., and they had Eminem's people had reached out to them and wanted some samples to look at to put on the album cover for the Shady XV. So if you see the album cover, it has like a hockey mask kind of style on it and some chainsaws and stuff like that. And I had done I did one, and actually like handmade the whole thing. It was really pretty. I worked really, really hard on that, and I guess I kind of came in with that expectation. There were a couple other people that submitted some, kind of simple masks and stuff, and I really thought, I talked to different people, and I'd seen pictures of it at the studios or whatever, and really kind of thought that was going to happen. And the day that the album came out with Shady XV, it was Eminem, and he had this video, and I was all super excited, like, this is really happening. And he turns around, and they had chosen a different mask from a different artist, and I was like, oh man, like it was just like everything I'd wanted and worked for and hoped for and dreamed for, to have that opportunity to happen. But it definitely was, like I said, I think for like a few days, like I was definitely kind of in my thing, but to, I guess, figure out, kind of get out of that. Do I still want to do this art? Do I still want to, continue this? I put so much time into school. I've done, all of these events or, things like that, or projects. And I decided that I still had a love for, I'd seen opportunities that were coming available they're looking for sketch artists for card companies. And I was working to try to get onto Marvel with Upper Deck. There was also one that had like DC Comics, which is like home to Batman and stuff. And then, of course, the big one is Topps Card Company. And so I'd been trying to work with them a little bit, and it came down that I was trying to get on with the Upper Deck and Marvel, and they passed on me and picked someone else. And I ended up going with Topps Card Company and working on the Star Wars product. So I've been doing that since like about 2017. So I still love drawing Star Wars, to this day, and it's fun to see, like cards and art and stuff like that showing up in packs in stores or, all over the place. So that's kind of how that story kind of led me to another path, to something else I did, and to be able to work on, a different way of working, creating cards and stuff like that.
Sure.
Which is something that I've always liked as a kid.
Well, I know you're proud of this mural in downtown Boise, about something like 15 feet by 10 feet. It's Breaking Boise is the title of it, which is kind of an homage to the television series Breaking Bad. And I understand Aaron Paul is one of the stars of the show, obviously, but he's a native of Boise.
Yes, that is correct. I got to know his mom a little bit, and he's really well known here and loved, of course. And a few years ago, I was asked to do like a mural. It's called the Freak Alley Gallery. It's kind of a really tourist spot. There's a lot of different artists that come down there, and they, have different murals and stuff, showcase their talents and their artwork, and I came up with the idea of this Breaking Boise. And just last year, it was really awesome because Aaron Paul was here promoting some new business ventures of his, and Bryan Cranston was also with them. And I was able to get like some pictures in front of it, with him there. And it's kind of funny because Bryan Cranston actually autographed the wall, so he wrote on his nose across the front of the painting. But it was just something that I kind of had this crazy idea, what if this was ever to happen? And even though it took a couple of years or so to have that, to actually see that come to life is makes it all worth it.
We're talking to Logan's own Zach Woosely. How would you describe your art, by the way?
Ooh, how would I describe my art? Well, basically it's just I would say kind of a hot mess for the most part. Okay. I've definitely, I use a lot of different things and ways of working, inspired by other artists that I've seen, and over the years, I had really great professors, throughout my educational career, teaching me how to do a lot of things. Most of it, I would say, would be on the dark side. For whatever reason, I definitely have a tendency to travel that way, and I think that, kind of people have enjoyed that, and it's brought a lot of good opportunities for me, whether it's been, even cards or books or, merchandise or anything like that. So
I was trying to figure out other names you've worked with, and I remember you mentioning you have done some things with Dr. Dre.
I had an opportunity to do a piece for them. Frank Gibson was able to make that happen for me out of the Los Angeles area. It was during kind of the Straight Outta Compton when the movie was coming out, and was able to do a piece that had all of the members of NWA and present that to Dr. Dre. So that one was really I did it not really knowing if it would ever make it that far, but it actually did. So, and at the time I was actually studying in Guatemala at the time when I heard back that actually happened. So,
what did you do with Snoop Dogg?
It's kind of the same thing. Frank was able to make it work so that there was a painting and stuff for him. I believe they gave it to him. It was a gift at the Khloe Kardashian show, I think, is part of a presentation for that. And I was able to, I kind of knew a lot of people. I'd seen Snoop quite a bit, but to actually get to meet him personally, this last year was really awesome. To actually meet him in person. So.
Well, there are other names I'm sure people would recognize. I mentioned Tech Nine earlier.
Yeah.
But so, as you said earlier, you're kind of involved now in the Topps cards in the Star Wars series?
Yes.
So that's keeping you busy?
That is. We've been really busy. I guess 2020 really taught me to be thankful for all the work that I do get, since the entertainment industry was kind of shut down for quite a while. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of wonderful card sets coming out, like Star Wars Masterworks series. We've done a lot for The Mandalorian, which I love too. I've gotten really good at drawing stormtroopers. I can pretty much do them anytime, anywhere. And I just really enjoyed that opportunity working with Topps. I was able to work on some of their baseball cards, which was really cool too, with their museum collections for the last couple of years as well.
Well, and I know you're the son of proud parents, Janet and Stephen Woosely, and I wanted to mention one other thing before we let you go. People can see your work online at magicartworks.com. Works is spelled W-E-R-X. magicartworks.com. Have I got that right?
That is correct, yep.
Well, keep in touch with us when you make other breakthroughs, and we'll share it with the people, because we don't often have people from Logan that make it this far in their specialty.
Well, I super appreciate that. I don't know how far. I guess, to me it just still seems like I'm on this journey and just beginning for a lot of things that I hope to do in the future. Yeah, we have definitely, there's card sets coming out. We've got some books. Hannibal, the TV show that was on NBC, has an art book out that just released this year, and I've got some art in that too. So all of that is out there, and hopefully you guys enjoy as much as I do creating it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Let's get back to Jason and to Bill now.
Thank you, Craig. And what a cool story. And who else can say they accidentally ended up backstage with Shania Twain? Thanks, Craig, and to Zach, and to our listeners. Please stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
At Visionary Homes, we appreciate the support of customers, trade partners, and all the wonderful residents of Utah who have voted us Best of Northern and Southern Utah multiple years in a row. Giving Visionary's gold medal service and quality to each of our buyers is our #1 priority. At Visionary Homes, our expertise is creating and building a place where memories can be made and moments can happen. Simply put, built for living, built for you. Visionary Homes.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in Utah.
This message presented by the Utah High School Activities Association and the Utah Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
That's it for hour 1 of today's show, but I hope you'll stay tuned. Coming up in hour 2, Cache County School District Assistant Superintendent of Public Education, no way, really? Of Elementary Education, Gary Thomas, joins us. Some big news on this front. A proposed bond for new elementary schools, how they're handling fully funded all-day kindergarten, approved by the legislature just earlier this year in the legislative session. What growth means for the school district, where are all these kids going to find classroom seats, and more. Well, Cache County School District getting creative about meeting some of these challenges, and we'll break it all down. Gary Thomas, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education at the Cache County School District, is our guest in just a couple of minutes here on KVNU Logan.
When it's happening in Washington, when it's happening on Wall Street.
That's the reason why we're going to continue, because I believe there is a cause here.
News Talk KVNU Logan.